Hello and welcome to Pokesports Plus, a podcast where the two of us, Mike and Kevin, speak with guests from all over the Pokemon industry. I'm Mike and I play with one Pokemon on the field.
I'm Kevin. I play with two Pokemon on the field.
And today we're joined by Sam. You might know him as Foo by the username of FooFooToo on YouTube. Sam, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Very good to be here. It's really cool.
I thought that we could have you on because we've been obviously major fans of yours for a while. I know you and Kevin have a little bit of history, and I kind of wanted to explore that. Maybe just right in the onset here. How do you guys know each other?
Yeah, that one's an interesting one. So It goes back quite a way. Like when I was, it was quite soon after I was starting out or getting like less amateur on YouTube. Not that I'm not amateur now. I am. It is still just like a hobby for me. But like it was the Mount Silver,
like 2014
group channel. Yeah, 2014. That's a long time ago.
I don't think we've ever talked about what Mount Silver was.
Yeah, so it's like it was like a group channel. Was it Lumio's Station back in the day? Was it a big Pokemon group channel with loads of like the Let's Players and stuff who got together? And Mount Silver Battles was for a period like a battling thing, although it was more taking off like older I guess group channels for competitive content that didn't exist anymore. So there was a period in Gen 4 or 5 when there were some really good like community channels where people would submit videos. And yeah, that was cool.
Back in the days of community channels, man. Wow.
Yeah, man. Now we're weird for having two people.
yeah, I know. It's so antisocial nowadays. Like it's got more and more antisocial, I think.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah. Like just people battling each other doesn't happen anymore. Before it used to be like every single episode you'd have like with a Wi-Fi battle was with another content creator. But now it's just true. Like it's a rarity. You have to like make a nice little trailer saying in 1 week we actually collab with somebody. Make sure to be
Yeah, it's crazy. It was a really cool community back then. I don't know if it's just because everything was like smaller and so everyone was more, I don't know, like part of the community, whereas now years later there are some huge people, and because there are so many more creators, like it's a lot harder to make a name for yourself, I think, if you're starting out, and because there's that gap, like I think it's harder to integrate a community like before when the biggest people were still not huge and so had more of an interaction with their fan base. But yeah, this community channel was going to be with like a few people, some recognizable names now. Actually, some people are still going. Some people have dropped off. But yeah, and that's how Kevin and I met. But back in the day, like it was mainly singles, and Kevin was one of the few VGC people.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And now there's so many VGC people and Kevin's the nobody. That's how life works sometimes. But you know what's actually really funny is that we were all technically on Mount Silver because Mike was like one of our first ever community submissions.
True. Yeah.
There you go, Mike. You got your episode on Mount Silver.
And at the time, that felt like such a major accomplishment. And then, like at the time, it was a major accomplishment. Then we started talking from there, and I had more of a permanent kind of role on Mount Silver, and then everything went downhill kind of at the same time. So
yeah,
that's how that goes. And I mean, since then, you've gone on to make a successful YouTube channel for yourself, Sam FooFooToo, having just over 53,000 subscribers on it right now. So big congrats for that.
Thanks. Yeah.
What do you have like a claim to fame for your YouTube channel, or is it just over time?
I guess it's incremental, but I think so. Obviously, there are always big opportunities when new games come out, and I always tried to make the most of those. And to be fair, it wasn't ever like YouTube is definitely just a side thing for me. Pokemon, I really enjoy Pokemon. Some people want to be creators and they upload Pokemon content as their kind of way to channel that. Whereas for me, I just love Pokemon. Like if I wasn't uploading about it, I would be playing it anyway. So
Right.
when these new games come out, I'm just always really excited, and then upload videos about stuff that I'm really interested in, and yeah, and I guess other people respond to that. So that's really cool. Like I like experimenting with the mechanics and going in depth with different sets and things and seeing what Pokemon are capable of. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I do on my channel, and yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
Do you like actively try and find unique sets and unique?
Yeah, I think that's because that's the content that I enjoy the most, seeing like these weird things that other people haven't tried yet, making them work. But yeah, exploiting mechanics as well is something that I find interesting. But I've always enjoyed like the lower tier stuff. So if I was playing singles, I'd always go to like the lowest tier possible and see what weird stuff is lurking there. Because, you know, I think with content creation, novelty is a huge thing. And Pokemon, like, you have to wait periods where there won't be any new stuff. So you have to make new stuff with the stuff that's already there. And that's where, like, coming up with these sets is the way to keep things fresh. So that's why I like, and also the lower tiers is like, these are Pokemon that no one uses anyway, or people don't really know what they're meant to do. So whatever you do with them is going to be interesting. So yeah, that's the approach I take, I guess.
No, that's a very good point that you mentioned. Like, I remember back in the day, used to be really into PU. I think now ZU is a whole tier, even lower.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's just more interesting because it's more fun and less established. Like, you're not going to run into as many unbreakable stall teams because people haven't put in the time to find them, or like there's not as much of a standard meta, so you know, oh, these are the exact Pokemon that I'm going to be facing on every team. So I just think it's a more interesting way of playing. But yeah, I like experimenting with all different formats too. It's just that's where I feel most comfortable, I guess.
Do you find yourself trying to stick to a certain schedule? Like, it looks like everything kind of comes out once a week for you, but you also mentioned that things are this is just a hobby. So what's the creative process like?
That's changeable depending on what's going on. Like over time, it's changed a lot. Back when I was first starting, I was uploading every day, basically because I didn't have any responsibilities or commitments in my life, so it was just a way to like spend my time. And you definitely see more growth and stuff the more regularly you upload. And I think that's something that's remained constant from when I started. The thing that's changed is that I've got more responsibilities and I don't have as much time to put into it. But also, I don't want to feel locked into it. So once a week, I find as like, that's my natural pace. If I want to put more effort into it, then I can. But yeah, I'd say once a week is just how I hit it. I think if I uploaded more frequently, my channel would do better, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my own time for that because I don't want it. I just want it as a hobby for now. Like, that's where it's going to be for me.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, when it comes to like how well your videos do, are you like super into the numbers behind each video, or do you just kind of let things go as they come?
It's really hard not to look at the numbers.
And
it's really tough. And also I think it's, for me, I always will pay attention to the numbers because I want to make better content. And though I know when I put a video up whether I think it's good or not, I also want to know whether the audience responds to it, and I'll adapt my content because of that. So I definitely pay attention to the numbers. It's also, I think nowadays the numbers are much, much more influenced about things outside of your video content. So the thumbnail and all the tags and everything that you put on it. Well, not necessarily the tag. It's mainly the thumbnail title these days is what gets you like the clicks. And so because I like my content and I want people to see it, like the numbers are more of a reflection, not necessarily of my content. Like the comments and the likes are much more a reflection of how people are responding to my content. But if I want to see the maximum number of people viewing my videos, then I'll check to see how that's responding, so I can adapt like the thumbnail or the title or whatever so that my content gets out there a bit more. But yeah, I don't. I think it's been unhealthy in the past. Like with stuff like this, growth tends to go in spurts, especially if you're a smaller creator, and especially if you're uploading about one thing where there's going to be a new game and then like not much for a while. So I've got used to that, and because I'm not relying on it as an income or anything, I don't stress about it. But it's just something I want to make better content, and I want to make sure that the content gets out there.
When it comes to Pokemon content creation, it does kind of have a nice, like a gap year in between new games. What do you think about the DLCs happening this time around?
I think it's fantastic. Like it's the best news for creators for sure. I think it's like, just as a player, it's also nice to space out these new releases. But I understand why people are who felt like they weren't complete games to begin with feel like paid additional content is cheap or not. Like, I understand why some people aren't too happy about it, but I never felt like these games weren't complete. Like, I felt like this was kind of always the intention. And no matter their next step, if it was a new game which had like all the Pokemon, for example, with a Dexa issue, like that would still not solve, like whatever they did after these games, the complaint would be, oh, we have to pay more money to fix the issues of the last games, which is, I don't think the right way of looking at it. But I'm quite excited about the DLC, and I think from content creation and from the community in general, just having more hype about Pokemon over a long period is way better.
I'm just happy I don't have to replay the same game again.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Play the same game. That was just a big like thing, wasn't Pokemon.
Yeah. It's like they kind of reskinned things, and they added a little bit more dialogue in certain places, but at the end of the day, you kind of were just playing Sun again in Ultra Sun. Like, it didn't really feel like a brand new experience, although they had, again, the slight tweaks.
I think that the new decks and like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it took so long to play through and everything. But I did actually quite like using the different Pokemon in the new region. I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah, you get a complete decks, have a lot more options.
Yeah.
Do you have much history with competitive play?
It's relatively, like, not like super competitive play. I haven't ever done tournaments or anything like that. But in terms of competitive Pokemon, that's like playing on Showdown and things like that. I think we've held some tournaments from the channel before, but I haven't really, like, I've never gone to a VGC event or like played in a proper Smogon tour or anything like that.
But, right. So those mostly happen online for you.
Yeah. So if I'm doing anything, like, to be honest, nowadays I really don't compete or play competitive that much. I like VGC, I try to keep my hand in on just what's going on and maybe play some stuff, but yeah, I really don't do as much as I used to do. I used to be on Showdown like every day, maybe. Although I do have to say, Showdown is a drug for me. Like, if I go on there, I can't stop pressing the find battle button. When a battle ends, I need to find another one, and I won't be satisfied, because it's like, if I lose, then I want to play again until I win, or if I win, it's like, this feels so good.
I think the scariest thing that Showdown did was introduce the random battle button to create a mode where they make your team for you, and you know that they've made the other team for you, and it's just like this mishmash of Pokemon with moves and sets that you might not have even heard before. Just, I can play that actually all day.
Yeah,
and I have, and it's been bad. And that's actually where I learned about Belly Drum Slurpuff.
Oh man,
yeah.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. There were a couple of all of the Belly Drum sets, really, because I didn't really look too hard into Belly Drum, but Belly Drum Slurpuff, Belly Drum Lanoon. Oh man,
yeah,
with extreme speed, that's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, terrifying. Custom battles, like random battles, are really, really fun. And you can shiny hunt in them.
What?
Yeah, they have like a shiny chance, so that you can shiny hunt in Pokemon Showdown random battles, I think.
Well, there's an idea.
Or at least you can in the Challenge Cup ones or the 1v1s.
That's funny.
I think you can.
Speaking of 1v1s, what do you think about this new online tournament, Sword and Shield? Extreme Speed, whatever it's called?
I don't know that one. What is the 1v1 format?
Yeah, it's a 1v1 format in Sword
It's
and Shield.
essentially a blitz. So you have reduced time to make your moves, reduced time to play your games, but it's essentially just an online tournament for singles, which is like the first time in a long time that they've actually made a tournament for singles.
That sounds pretty fun. That does sound pretty fun.
I've said it multiple times on the podcast and to other people, but the one thing that I just can't wrap my head around with Pokemon is that they focus so hard on VGC without really preparing you for it in the actual game. The entire game, you're playing a series of singles battles. And then the second the game ends, they're like, all right, now add another one on your team and go at it. But they never really say, okay, let's use what you've learned all throughout the game in singles and then, compete with it. So this is like the first time that I'm actually seeing it this generation where they're doing that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I think that's neat. Like, it is weird how through all the games, like, it's pretty much exclusively singles. There'll be a few doubles battles thrown in, but then, like, the official format's doubles. Personally, yes. I kind of understand why the official format's doubles because there are so many different iterations of things that you can do in each turn. Like, each turn is, like, an event, whereas in singles, it can be a bit more drawn out.
Oh, exactly.
And so I think it's more makes for more of a spectacle in doubles, but like it's weird how they don't gear that into the games as well. I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah, like it's fine if you want to have double battle. Like double battles make sense to me. It's just you don't really prepare your people much for that in the first 30 to 40 hours of your game. So of course it's hard for people to get into it because there's this 30 to 40 hour introductory period, which personally I think is one of the reasons why Pokemon struggles a little bit as an esport, just because of that barrier to entry. Overwatch, you can get in and start playing competitively in your first 5 minutes. Hearthstone, same kind of thing. You go through a little tutorial and you're there. But for Pokemon, if you're not using something like Showdown and you're not, creating your teams in 10 minutes through sets, it's a little tough.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest barrier is just having access to the teams. Like the rental teams in these games are a fantastic addition, and also all the team codes that you have access to. But like you need to know where to look for them too. I think like it would be so cool if Pokemon had like a Showdown based online only battling game
100%.
where you just pick your teams and you battle. If they want to make they want to make Pokemon battling into more of a thing where it has to be the accessibility of getting the Pokemon. They've made it arbitrarily difficult to get all your IVs and then do all the EV trainings. Like, don't get me wrong, I actually find it really therapeutic to just build a team. Like you have to invest the time. In these games it's a lot easier, but you still have to like invest as much time as you need depending on the items that you have and everything. And I find it super therapeutic, but I have all the knowledge on how to make that as easy as possible. If you have no idea how to do that and you have to look up everything from the beginning, all the breeding mechanics or like catching mechanics, especially with stuff like Gigantamax Pokemon now, if you want to use a Gigantamax competitively, that can be a real pain to get. Like all of this just to make a team so that you can then start learning how to battle as well. Like it's just crazy. There's so much.
And it's only gotten better too. Like people have it easy now. Breeding in 2014 was a lot harder. And
just like looking at where EV training has come, just like looking at the very baseline of how to get the 252 EVs on your Pokemon back in 2014. Get out of here.
No, it was 255.
Yeah, exactly. Well, sometimes you mess that up and put it at 255 and you're saying, oh crap, I guess I have to rebreed a Pokemon. Well, you know what? I think with that, let's take a little break, and then when we come back, let's get into some specifics. Let's talk Pokemon. Welcome back to Pokesports and our conversation with Sam, aka Foo. Sam, how's your week been going? I know we've got we're right in the middle. We're practicing as much social distancing as we can on this podcast. I believe we're as far away as humanly possible. How has your week been since everything kind of started?
It's very different. Like I'm working from home at the moment and also doing any recording and stuff from home, which is just a kind of claustrophobic. It's not too bad now because there's only been a few days like since the UK or the advice came out, say social distancing, stay at home as much as possible, no like non-essential journeys and all this. And it's weird now. Like I want to get out of the house, but going outside is weird as well. Because it's like everyone's like really looks really shifty. Like everyone's thinking like you can't look at someone and be like, "Ooh, are you going to be the one that gets me?" It's which I don't like because it's a time when everyone needs to be like helping each other, but obviously we need to do that with distance. But it's weird how it alienates you, and like because of like physical contact could be a risk. You still should have like I don't know, some way to talk to people normally, but
God forbid you sneeze
weird.
in public.
I know. Oh my god. Or just like cough accidentally. It's not good. You get all the looks.
You get all the looks.
So
it's just started for us this past little. I don't actually. How long has the UK been on quarantine?
So it's still sort of not on quarantine as such. They've said social distancing, and schools are closing as of this Friday.
Oh, they're closing. Oh, I see.
They're closing like all schools and things, but we're not quite Europe level yet, where they have like all their bars and restaurants have shut, and they have armed police on the street, or maybe not armed police, but they have like police on the street, and you can only go out if you have special permissions. You know, if you're working in a hospital or something, or you're going to get food from the shop, and that's it really. So I don't think we're at that level yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get there quite soon, because the trajectory of cases is definitely going that way, and our government are listening more to what's going on around Europe at the moment. So
yeah. I mean, I don't mind kind of dating this recording by doing this. Like it by the time people are listening to this, it'll have been probably another week since we recorded. So I mean, we're probably going to be living in a completely different time by the time people are listening to this. But right now, schools have been closed for, I believe, myself and Kevin.
Yeah, here too.
Me being in Canada, him being in the US, for the past week.
We have a curfew here too now.
Oh, really?
8 p.m.
Curfew. 8 p.m. Wow. Yeah, and they're just I'm looking outside of my window where I usually see a lot of cars going down the main road, and just maybe you'll see one every now and then, and the occasional one person going really, really fast because they just can.
Yeah, my commute from work is a lot faster.
Yeah,
that's the one positive.
It's funny because we mentioned the efficiencies of breeding in Pokemon. The train ride that I would usually take to work, for me, takes about an hour and a bit, just over an hour. So I am able to breed basically one Pokemon from the time I get on my train to the time that I get off of the train, like one competitively ready Pokemon by the time I'm there. And so not having that commute time this past week, I've like noticed a decline in my ability to actually put a team together. And it's like, oh man, I have this online tournament coming up. I need this. I believe that actually starts tonight. Does it not, Kevin?
Oh, I didn't even sign up yet. Well then.
Well, tonight or tomorrow. So we got to get on that.
Yeah.
So let's talk Pokemon. So looking at your channel, you've been putting out, as you mentioned, very interesting sets and interesting Pokemon and sets that you wouldn't really see too often. One of the more interesting ones that I've looked at recently was a video that you made on Zarude, talking about predicted stats and what you think it's going to be like. In terms of like tiering, how do you think Zarude's going to stack up against the other Pokemon?
I think that's very much dependent on its stats. Like that's the one thing that is really up in the air, because if they try to make this thing bulky, like it will just fall flat. We could see it quite a low tier. But I if it is relatively fast and relatively powerful, then I think it will be good. I don't think it will be overpowered. I probably won't even be OU. I don't think, unless it's got really powerful stats. Like the stats it needs are like a big attacking stat and a decent speed stat.
Right.
I mean, it like Grass Dark offensively is good, and I think it's probably going to get some good coverage moves. I was looking at the pre-release screenshots that Cerebi have. There were a couple of new ones added this last week, and it looks like it might get close combat, but I might have been making that up or mixing up my move like animations. But if it has close combat, that's amazing. That's really good. Already really good news. So it remains to be seen. I don't think it's going to be OU unless it's got really good stats.
It just dies to U-turn if it's in OU. That's a sad thing.
Yeah. If it's fast enough, it will be able to avoid that. So.
That is true. It all depends on those two stats. It's attack and HP. Every other one is negligible. I mean, not HP, speed. Every other one is kind of negligible because you're probably gonna.
Plus, if it has like a massive attack stat and sucker punch, anything going for U-turn might get demolished anyway. So,
oh, that's a really good point, especially if you're worried about Dragapult U-turns.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
Yeah,
and I do have good news for you. Zarude has been confirmed to have arms, so it does have close combat this generation.
Hey.
It's actually coming with the distribution from Korokoro magazine.
Oh,
I love its design though. I think it looks really cool. I hope it's good.
Yeah, it's really cool. What do you think about its ability, Leaf Guard?
Trash.
Yep. Okay, so finally somebody agrees with me. I was like one of the few people that are like, oh, that's it? That's all you can give this guy?
Yeah. It's just not usable at all. Like it's unlikely to have I don't see any situation where it would be useful. I don't see it setting up Sun or being a Sun user particularly, unless it's really fast and could be like a Sun setter for a dedicated Sun team maybe. But even then, it would benefit so much more from Chlorophyll or so many other abilities.
Give it Tough Claws. Yeah. My man has claws.
Tough Claws.
Jeez, if it had Tough Claws, that'd be scary.
Yeah, that would be really scary.
It's such a shame too, because I'm trying to look at Celebi's. Right, Natural Cure. Natural Cure is such a better ability compared to Leaf Guard.
Yeah,
and they're doing this thing where they're trying to pair the two up as like a yin to yang kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, Natural Cure would be so much better. It's just Leaf Guard is way too situational for not enough benefit. Like if you're going to go for a weather ability, it needs to have a good effect. Otherwise, you're going to have to lose a move slot or have a support Pokemon just to activate an ability that doesn't do enough. So, I don't think it's good.
Especially with like Torkoal being OU now, and we kind of agree that Zarude is probably not going to be OU. It just kind of leaves it alone out of the sun.
Yeah. The Ninetales are still there.
Oh, that's true. You got Ninetales.
Yeah. We were talking about claim to fame earlier, and I have here, Kevin. You wrote down that Foo was one of the first content creators to talk about Prankster Trick Room with Riolu?
Yeah, that's where I found out.
Oh yeah.
How'd you even come across that?
Well, I saw the tweet. There was a tweet that was circulating first, and then I looked into it. They had used, I can't remember what Prankster user they had used. They had used like something really random that wasn't particularly fast. Like I think it was just like a more of a proof of concept thing. And I was like, you know what, that would be amazing with Prankster. And at the time, the only Prankster copycat user was Riolu. And in the video, I say like, this will be great when Lipard comes out, which evidently it was. It was very good. So yeah, I can't remember who they were using. They must have been using like Mimikyu, maybe.
Yeah, just like a fast copycat user, but like not Prankster.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What do you think about Lipard now, or what do you think about Trick Room in general? I guess
Trick Room is more viable now than I think it's ever been, and that's saying something because I like it's been used as speed control for a long time. Like back in Gen 6 when it was used relatively frequently on even stuff like Mega Gardevoir, which isn't a slow Pokemon. It was quite prevalent there. But now there are just so many different ways to set it up. With adding Hatterene into the game so that you've got Magic Bounce, and then also with Psychic Surge, meaning Fake Out can stop it, and you've got the Ghost types that are immune to Fake Out anyway. Like there's only one reliable way to stop it, which is Imprison. Because any other way, if you try to Fake Out, that's not gonna work. If they've got the Psychic Terrain or they've got Ghost, if you try to Taunt, they might have Hatterene. Like the only really viable way is Imprison, but that in itself is 2 move slots on a Pokemon. So it's impressive that it's so prevalent that that's going to take effect. So I mean, it's really cool to see how this is obviously all in the context of VGC. In singles, I think it's the same really as it's been. I don't think it's particularly more prevalent. Hatterene is a good setter that's been added. But yeah, in doubles, like the setup is so much better, which I think is really interesting to see. Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
It's actually funny how it worked. It was like Indeedee and Hatterene came out and they were like, oh my god, this is the unstoppable Trick Room lead. You can't fake it out. You can't taunt it. What can we do? It uses Follow Me. And then people started using Imprison Trick Room. And they're like, okay, we can beat this strategy now. No one's using Hatterene and Indeedee anymore because they just have Imprison Trick Room. And then guess what comes out? We have Prankster Trick Room to bypass the Imprison. And now we just have this mess. But what's even so crazy about this strategy and with Copycat is if they go for Trick Room to copycat, I mean, to like reset the Trick Room, you could just copycat it again on the following turn to reset it again. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it does obviously potentially take up your Dynamax slot, but I don't think that's too much of an issue. I mean, you can always try to go for Trick Room normally the first time around, and if that fails, go for your Dynamax. But with these Trick Room teams, people are like saying, oh, I don't think this is an efficient way of getting up Trick Room. If you look at the comments on that video, there will be a lot of comments saying this isn't an effective way to get up Trick Room. I was like, well, I know I'm using a Riolu. This is like a proof of concept video first. But it's like, these teams live and die by Trick Room. If you don't get it up, it's not just wasting a turn of your Dynamax, you will lose the battle. Like, you need to get the Trick Room up, and wasting a turn of Dynamax is fine if you can then get your Rhyperior and Torkoal in on Trick Room, because the opponent will really struggle to come back from that. That's what it's about. So, yeah, I think it's cool that there are just so many different ways of
YouTube comments are so funny sometimes. Just the term proof of concept that you literally just said is like 90% of the Pokemon community is just when you put videos out saying, hey, this is really cool, maybe think about figuring out ways to make this work, and then people start blasting the video with, no, it doesn't work, that doesn't work, look at how you did it, that's unsustainable. It's like, no, that's not the point. The point wasn't for this video to hold up against all different strategies. The point was start thinking about Prankster Riolu. Another one that I just had come to mind, and Kevin, you're gonna have to help me on this one. No Guard Sheer Cold. That was a thing, right?
Yeah,
that was a thing. They're proof of concept has been made, and now we just need to figure that out. But how does No Guard Sheer Cold work? Sheer Cold work.
I think
so. It was role play, I think. So like Ninetales uses role play and then copies something else's No Guard. I think it was Mega Pidgeot I used back in the day with Tailwind and stuff. And then you can go for sheer colds. But there's also, I think Landorus gets roleplay as well, so it could do Fisher as well. So you could do that, which is pretty fun. And then I paired it up with a Choice Scarf Oranguru so that you could then like instruct really fast. Which was hilarious.
Never thought you'd have to stick a Choice Scarf on the Trick Room setting.
Yeah. The first time that we had this discussion, Kevin and I, about No Guard Sheer Cold, we were thinking of like convoluted ways of getting No Guard on through like Rune Regus. Like,
yeah, you can Wandering Spirit.
But
it takes like 3 turns total.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it still gets. I assume Ninetales, Alolan Ninetales still gets roleplay because I think that's how I looked into it in the past.
Oh no, I'm looking at it right now. Looks like it doesn't. Wait a second. Oh. Ninetales, the search function. It works. It's a move tutor move only.
Dang.
Gang Freak watched Foo's video.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gang Freak watched your video and they were like, okay, we can't have this.
Yeah.
Mr. Rhyme learns it.
Oh boy.
So, I mean, watch out.
Everyone watch out for Mr. Rhyme. Or if you're Foo, you just use Galarian Mr. Mime instead, because it's just infinitely better.
Love it. It's so good, and I just love how it just dances. It's like the most off-putting Pokemon to face.
Have you ever
in your face.
Have you ever Dynamaxed it and seen it do that dance? It's so fun.
No, it must be slow-mo as well in Dynamax.
Yeah, it is.
That's hilarious.
What do you think the hardest thing about what you do on YouTube is?
The hardest thing, that's interesting question. I you know what? Sometimes it's just motivation. It's like being motivated when I'm not super behind an idea, like I don't think it's awesome, and then trying to make a video out of it. Because I like the creative stuff. I like coming up with a concept and then like making the team around it and then like trying to explain it really well or present it in an interesting way. But when it's like something that I know has got potential, but I just haven't got the angle yet, and then I have to try to make a video out of it, and I feel like I'm missing the potential, that's frustrating. Especially when there's maybe not as much interest. But at the same time, that's kind of motivating too, because I know that people complain about like these dry spells, and I know from experience that they're not really a thing. A dry spell is a dry spell of your inspiration rather than appetite. People are always willing to watch an interesting video. You just have to find the thing that people are interested in. And so
how would you suggest people go about finding that out?
Well, for me, it's all about just thinking what I would want to see, what content I respond to, and then making sure that I do something new and put a spin on it. Like that's what I think that's why my channel hasn't not died up until now, is because like I always try to do different stuff, and when something hits, then just try to keep going with that. If something's not hitting, don't be too upset about it and try something different. So that's the technique I get, and like there are always things that you can go back on. Like there are some videos that would always do okay, like top 5s or like anything with a number in the title. That's all I used to do really, is like I used to do loads of overlooked buff videos because I like them because I'm talking about Pokemon that people never see and talking about how they've actually been improved because no one's really bothered to look. And so say like there are actually some things that this thing can do now, so why don't you try it out? And but I can put a number in that title because I can say there are 3 things that this thing can do, and you don't know these 3 things. You may know one of them, and then people will watch that. Like, so I there are some like templates that I can use and try to make content around that. And I think structure is a big way of going about it. So if you've got an idea, like putting structure behind it, that's what I think I'm actually quite good at. I don't know how good I am at anything else, like the actual videos or the presentation or anything, the editing. I definitely don't think I'm the best. I don't think I'm the best Pokemon like player out there either. But I think I'm quite good at just structuring a video and like then trying to sell it as a product.
Do you have a video that you've made that you did not expect to kind of blow up in the way that it did?
I mean, there's no way ever that I could predict the way that my Galarian Corsola video blew up, because that's like, I've never had attention like that on my channel ever before.
Oh, that's right. You made a video saying not to evolve Galarian Corsola.
Yeah.
Kind of before the whole Corsola epidemic happened.
1.8 million views. My boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I did, that was crazy. For a channel my size, like that was unprecedented. Even like at the beginning of the hype around the new games, like no one else was getting that kind of
exposure.
At that time, which is crazy. And I didn't expect it. It was something that I just was really excited about because I saw that Galarian Corsola was coming, and I think that's so cool. And then I heard it evolved, and I was like, oh my god, Corsola's already kind of because I'd done a video about Overlook Corsola buffs,
right?
Like in the previous generation, and then I heard it gets an evolution. I'm like, that's crazy. Corsola is bulky, and that you're giving it an evolution. So yeah, I was just excited to talk about something, and I thought it was something that, because everyone was doing all the obvious stuff at the beginning of the game, and I was just like, you know what? Even I was doing kind of obvious stuff because I was doing moveset stuff, which I would do with John, aka Pokemon, and we really enjoy working together on them, and they always do pretty well. But it was like, I want to do something just for me as like a one-off and talk about something that I'm really excited about. So I did that one, and it just was crazy, and it was that's something that I just didn't expect to go like that, especially because the moveset things were going all right. They actually have grown over time. At the time when we first uploaded them, it wasn't like an explosion. So I didn't expect anything from it, but that was crazy and really cool.
I think with that, let's call it a day. Sam, where do you think where would you like the people to go? We're rolling out the red carpet for you. Tell the people where they can find you.
Check out my YouTube channel, which is FooFooToo, and that's the main place you can find me. But if you want to interact with me, then Twitter is better, at SJA900. I'm quite responsive on Twitter. Twitter's a lot of fun.
Twitter's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's where, if you want to interact, that's where to go.
I almost ended the podcast without asking you. How many Pokemon do you play with on your side of the field?
Ooh, 1.5 on average.
There it is.
At the moment.
That's the closest to one we've gotten so far.
At the moment, though, too, I just think Sword and Shield are like built for doubles. Like I really do think they're built for doubles. And you can't do 6v6 battles, which is what Showdown and like the singles community has been built around for the longest time, and because of the timer, that's just not really possible in game anymore. So and doubles is just like Dynamaxing as well, the thing they introduced in these games
for sure
is broken in 6v6, whereas in doubles it's amazing. It's such a good addition, I think. Like there are so many, like having to play around it and predict it and everything. It's really balanced. Obviously it's really powerful, but it's balanced in the you each get one and you each have ways to play around it. So I think doubles is just optimized. And though I love singles, and some Pokemon are not viable in doubles but are viable in singles, like as a competitive format at the moment, I think doubles is more stable.
I agree with that. Kevin, where can people find you?
Instagram and Twitter, X-Reservation.
Then, of course, you can find me at StillJustMike on Instagram and Twitter. You can find the podcast at Pokesports Pod on Twitter, or Pokesports Podcast everywhere else, except also YouTube, where you can find us at Pokesports, youtube.com/Pokesports. send us an email at pokesportspodcast@gmail.com, and we will see you in the next episode of our podcast. So have a great week.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.